we're gonna be replacing Johnny. Take a look. Yeah. So, anytime you replace a toilet, one of the most important things is, of course, getting a new wax ring. Now, it seems like these days, these new toilets come with wax rings already, but I have to tell you, I mean, just like the one that I just did, the wax ring is actually pretty puny. So, I went ahead and got the big Johnny Ring Plus for this job. I don't see what would be wrong with having a little bit of additional wax. And in case you're wondering, this wax ring is going to sit on top of the flange, which I'll show you. And then the toilet is going to sit on top of this, and we're going to smash it down ever so gingerly. This kind of helps seal the hole so that when you flush, you don't have stuff coming out, and it kind of gives it a place for the toilet to sit. So we are going to go ahead and tackle this toilet job right now. All right, so there is our toilet flange. I've got it cleaned up as best as possible. There's the hole where it all goes. And as you can see, we've got two tracks here, one here and one here. Those are where our bolts are going to go to hold the toilet. And here's our bolts. And the toilet will actually sit on top of the bolt, on top of the wax ring. And then we will secure the toilet down with some nuts that go on top of that. So I'm going to go ahead and start to put this in place. For those of you who like to eat donuts, let me just caution you that even though this is called a wax donut, we do not eat this. It's a donut of wax. And if I can get the plastic thing off, there you go. Looks like that. Nice. I think they call it a donut because it's round like a donut and has a hole in it. Woohoo! So that sits right on there. Ooh, nice, pretty. Lines up with the hole, nice. Okay. All right. Okay, there we go. Now, one of the things that we do, we've got these bolts, and these bolts are going to sit inside the channel that I showed you. Remember I showed you there were two channels. It's going to sit inside the channel, and they look like this, okay? And when we put them in the channel, the way we're going to sit this is we want to be sure that they don't come out. So the channel, let me just show you what the channel looks like. And what you do is you put it down in there and then you turn it and you maneuver it over. Now, you have that happen sometimes where it falls over. I had a plumber tell me last week, he's like, just put it to the wax and it'll hold. Same thing with the other side. Okay, I want to be sure that you all are actually seeing this, sorry. Kind of try and center those bolts to the hole. Okay. Now they started giving, which they hadn't done before. I'm going to set you down. All right. They started giving little plastic sleeves that go over these bolts to hold them in place, which is so nice of them to do that, because in the past your bolt would fall down as soon as you tried to put the toilet on. And now they give you the little plastic sleeves. A toilet that I installed a couple of weeks ago actually had them where they screwed down. So here we go. So we're pushing that down on that screw. Now, one of the things that I could do is move this out of the way temporarily. And now, see, that's going to hold my screw in place. Makes it much easier. Okay. You just want to be careful that you don't drop these screws down the hole. They'll be gone forever. And not only that, but it probably would not be a good thing to go down the hole, because then, okay, probably clog some things up, especially paper. All right, so Johnny, back on the hole. Now some people will put this on the hole and set the toilet. Others will put it on the bottom of the toilet and drop it down. I've done it both ways, and quite honestly, I don't know which way is better for me. For those of you who have never seen the bottom of a toilet bowl, there you go. There's our hole that the wax ring is going to go around when we set the toilet. Here are the holes where the screw is going to go, okay? And it'll fasten down, and inside there is the plumbing. And I have to tell you, I don't know who invented the toilet, but kudos to them. I mean, seriously, kudos to them. Now these holes up here are where our seat and the top, the tank, are going to attach. So let's go ahead and we're going to seat this toilet. Get it? We're going to have a seat. Failed. Ultimate fail on that joke. All right, now we're going to try and seat the toilet. I'm going to stand my bolt up here. And I've got my bolt centered to the hole. I put Johnny the wax ring on the bottom of the toilet bowl. And now for the challenging part, because the toilet is both heavy and awkward. We're going to try and seat it without dropping it and breaking it. Now here we go. Going down. I'm going down to the river, down to the river, down to the river to pray. Now I'm looking for my bolts when I'm coming down. Okay? On both sides of this, which is not easy. And of course, my wax ring hit both of them. Okay? And it's never easy to do, let me tell you. Because I don't know if I'm on the hole or not. And I have not figured out the trick to this. And I am sure... Okay, I'm on there. Okay. So now, you'll notice that the toilet is off the floor, right? And you're like, oh no, what happened? And my bolt, I'm gonna stand my bolt up. There it is, it's straight now. Let me check my other side. Okay. And both my bolts ended up with new wax on them, which is all right, but and it's kind of holding it. So you're like, well, Jeanette, that's not level. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna apply pressure. Woo, we're gonna squish the jelly donut. Okay? You could do it that way. You can also kind of quasi sit on this. All right? So now we are on the donut. We've squished it down. And now it's level. You can see now it's flush with the floor. All right? And this floor is really good in that it's level. Now we've got our nuts and our washers that are going to go on this to secure it down. Now one of the things you want to be careful is that you drop a washer over the screw like that, and then you're going to have the screw start, okay, like so. Now one of the things that you don't want to do is you don't want to over tighten. You want to tighten them, but you don't want to over tighten them and crack the porcelain, because then you're going back to the box store and buying yourself a new toilet, because it'll be done. All right, and I'm just going to do the other side while I have it. That'll keep my toilet secure in place. Okay, so now we are ready for the top part, what we know as, or what we call the tank. Okay, I've got my bolts secured. I have a new supply line back here, which is 16 inches long. It says 7/8 up at the top and 3/8 at the bottom. I went ahead and put a new supply line on because I had the house replumbed, and so they took the old one, which was old anyway. So now we have our tank, and I'm going to show you the tank. This is what holds all the water. This is where the flushing mechanism happens. Okay, so there is the bottom of the tank. That's going to sit on top of the toilet. You already have bolts. They've done them differently now, where they have included these rubber gaskets on these screws, which is really nice. Because when you set these on there, they they keep the water from coming through the hole, which is good. This is the hole where my supply line will attach. And of course, being that it's all one piece now, oh nice, there they are. They give you instructions, they give you the paper about causing cancer in California, which I've never understood. And here is all our fun stuff that we need for after putting the seat on, etc. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to, oh, and just to show you, okay, this is where you'll see the inside. A lot of times when these toilets go bad, okay, this particular one doesn't have the normal flapper like the other toilets do. So when you have to change this out, when this mechanism goes bad, and it probably will after a few years, and your toilet will start running when it's not supposed to, a lot of times it's changed the mechanism. This is where the water comes out. So we're going to go ahead and seat this tank on the toilet. Right, and again, being very careful that we don't drop this, because you know this is ceramic, and if you break it, you're toast. All right, now we got 5 holes on this toilet. We need 3 because we got 3 bolts. The other 2 towards the front of the seat are for your toilet seat to attach after. So we want to go ahead and we want to drop that flange and those bolts into that hole like so. Now, when you do this, you don't just let go and go, oh, well, it's seated, because it'll fall over. Okay? So we want to make sure that our washers, the rubber washers that they give you, are sitting over those holes. And sometimes what you'll have to do is come in here and you'll have to push down to push those screws down, those rubber washers. Just be careful where you're sticking your hand, okay? Because you want to be sure that they're coming through. All right, that one's coming through. Sometimes they're a little hard to push down. All right. And there's bolts that are going to go. Now that I've got it somewhat pushed down and set, I can let go, but I'm a little nervous about that. We're going to go ahead, and they gave 3 washers with the 3 nuts, and that's what's going to secure that to Johnny here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so we just turned our water on, and you can see the toilet is filling. It's a little dirty. That's okay. Our tank is filling. There's our lid. Okay. I put the lid on because I thought, well, if something goes wrong and water shoots everywhere, I kind of want to keep it contained. I'm kind of glad I did, because this one hasn't had the air run through it out of the line yet. So, and we're filling. And what I'll do is I'll check for leaks all under here. Okay, here. I'll check for leaks here. And I'll check each of the 3 bolts that this attached to make sure that there's no water coming through, and if we don't have any water coming through, we're good to go. So we're going to check those for leaks. These bolts are usually the ones that I get most concerned with more than anything, honestly. I don't really concern myself with the supply line. It's these nuts and washers underneath where the tank. So you got to check those for leaks. Now the other place that you're going to want to check for leaks is down here after you flush, making sure the water doesn't shoot out underneath the seat. That would be very, very bad. Well, now we're ready for the seat. Comes in plastic like this, and it has your parts that you need to attach it to the bowl. There's a couple of different ones. This one's a little different. I haven't seen this before, this kind of setup, so I'm going to have to read the directions that I just ripped. Oh, it has rubber thingies. Ah, let me show you. Let me open it like Christmas. All right. Now, if you're one of those people that likes to sit on the lid to do your hair or stand on the lid, this is not, to me, this is not the seat for you. You need to go get a wood one because, I'm sorry, I know they say this can probably hold 200 pounds, I don't even know. But I would not personally stand on this for fear that I would crack it and my foot would go straight down into the bowl. So, that's the only thing I don't like. I wish these were, wood. But, and this is one of the only times you can do this. Hello? Matter of fact, you know what this reminds me of? Some of you know that I was a toilet bowl one year, I think at Vacation Bible School, and I had a real toilet. It was pretty cool. But yeah, it's the only time you can do this. So, back in the old days, it used to be, back in the old days when I used to drink and probably drink, when I drank too much, it was more like that. And I don't do that anymore. I learned my lesson. All right, so on the bottom of this seat here, they have these little plastic things, and they give you, why, just go ahead and put them in, man. Why do you give this to me to do? But, so you put those in there, and I guess it cushions it on the actual, you know what this probably is? For when, oh, I know why this is. For men lift the seat and then they drop it down, and it probably cuts back on the noise in the middle of the night. So you put these in there like so. They just snap in, okay? And that's probably what it's for, although it don't sound much better, honestly. All right, so then these right here, this is where your nuts, your bolts are going to go through. Okay, you open these little caps. Sometimes they're easier to open than others. Ah, there you go. You have your bolt. It's going to go through the hole and sit down on the two remaining holes that you have left on the toilet itself. And then you'll come up underneath and you'll attach these things that will keep it secure. And what I'm going to do is, I learned that this, I saw this on the last toilet, and I'll just show you the difference here. This actually gives you a place to hold this, because when you're trying to, here's what I used to do when I put it on the toilet, then I used to spin this from underneath. And you run into the bowl every time because of this little tip out here. So I'm going to go and get a Phillips head screwdriver, because that's, for those of you who don't know Philip, let me just introduce you. Phillips head, that's a Phillips head screw for you ladies who don't know that, and men. And that we're going to put these on. This is the way it's going to go, and I can hold this while I have my screwdriver working from the top. It's much easier. This is a new design that they came out with, which makes it a little easier, because it used to be I would try and turn this against the bowl, and I'm like, why do they make this plastic piece that turns against the bowl and you can't get it to go by? Well, because you use a screwdriver on the top and use this as the holding. That will secure down your seat, and then you're ready for business. Oh, and then one last thing that I'll just tell you about, I'm not going to show you. I caulk around the bottom of the toilet. So whatever color caulking, almond, white, if you want to do clear, you can. If you've got gray tile, you can do gray caulking. But that seals it and keeps the toilet also from moving by caulking that. And then lastly, because I had this happen to me a couple of weeks ago when I installed a toilet, their floor was not level. And I learned a really cheap trick years ago, and that is to get some pennies and use pennies to level the toilet. And so you would just shove a penny underneath the toilet bowl, not all the way under, but shove it under there enough to where the toilet, and you might need a few, to where the toilet doesn't rock. Because there's nothing like sitting on a toilet and if you feel like you're going to fall off as soon as you sit down. And I've sat down on toilets where it's like, oh my gosh, you feel like you're going to come off of there. Like, what's wrong with this thing? Sometimes it's because the flange is broken underneath and it needs to be replaced, and the homeowner just hasn't done it yet, and they don't know how to do it, or they can't afford to do it. Sometimes it's because the floor is not level and you need to stick pennies under there. They make shims, plumbing shims, but honestly, you want to go to the store and pay a couple of bucks for shims when you can use a couple of pennies. And so you can put pennies all around the bottom of the bowl until you get it to where the toilet doesn't rock anymore. Listen, your toilet might be rocking now and it's not the flange. You might just need to tighten those bolts at the bottom that holds it to the floor, or you could put a few pennies under there and that might fix it. Or it might be like the house that I did a couple of weeks ago. The bolts were completely rusted through, and I picked the bolt up to tighten it, and the thing came off in my hand. It was rusted through and needed to be replaced. Doesn't mean that the toilet's bad. Just means that you go to the store and you buy new bolts and put those on. In that case, they were replacing the toilet anyway and going to what they call a comfort height because they're getting older. And they wanted a higher seating toilet so that, when they squat down, they didn't have to go way down. So there are comfort height, what they used to call years ago, we called them handicap toilets. They're not handicap toilets. They're just comfort height toilets. They just make it easier for people that are getting older and are not able to maneuver down this low. I know some ladies that are getting up there in age, and they're replacing their toilet, and that's what they're putting in as a comfort height toilet because it's more comfortable for them to not go down as far. So, even with the seat, you're still on a regular height going down pretty far. So as you get older, some people are going to those comfort height. Now, some people say, well, I can't use the comfort height because that affects my plumbing and how I go to the bathroom. They make the squatty potty for that. That's out now. You can get that, raises your legs, and helps with that issue. That is an issue for some people. And I get it. You can lean all the way forward, lean all the way back, maybe to the side, get things going. There's all different. I could do a whole skit on just that stuff. But anyway, getting off track on a rabbit trail. On a toilet trail, I should say. So those are the different things with toilets, is you have those different heights for comfort. So when you're shopping for a new toilet, check those out. The other thing is you also got to check for the distance from the wall to the hole in the floor. Make sure, measure the hole in the floor to the distance in the wall and make sure you get the right toilet, because they make different depths of toilets. This one sits off the wall a little too much for my liking, but I'm not undoing this thing and putting it back in the box and taking it back. I'll live with it. One day I'll change it out to a comfort height probably. But for now, it looks good. It got great reviews, and I'm just about finished with this. I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the seat on, caulk it so that that'll set in place, and then use it tomorrow for the first time. All right, well, thanks for joining me on The Teaching Lady. I hope that it's been educational, changing the toilet. And you take care now. Bye-bye.